Welcome back. Welcome back. My friends, how we doing? Thursday, April 5th, 2018. I am Big Cheds coming to you live here. I'm with Big Chonis. Big Chonis, how you doing?
Hey, Chad, how are you tonight?
Good. You're at the Pepperoni Conference in Amsterdam. Is that right?
Third year in a row. Happy to be here.
That's right. Wouldn't be the same without you. Real quick, guys, we are not advisors. We're just two friends that like to talk crypto, and we decided to record it here on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter. I am at Big Cheds. Do a lot of charts. You can find my friend here, Big Chonis, on Twitter at Big Chonis. He does his own style of content. He does a great job as well. Please check out the blog, The Complete Beginner's Guide to Cryptocurrency Trading at chetstrading.blogspot.com, and you'll be all set. So, Big Chonis, what's going on, man? How's the market looking right now, the crypto market?
You know, uh, it's been a very interesting day, as it always is in the crypto world. Lots of interesting news out there, lots of interesting perspectives, some FUD,
Mm-hmm.
some actual positive news, combined with some negative news. And, we've basically been seeing kind of a lot of sideways price action, mostly today on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
We have a really tight range. If you look at the daily chart, you see we have a pretty tight doji there, still green, which is nice to see, as we're about an hour away from the daily close. Um, the sideways action has brought on, some pumps through it. I think we had a few times where we were up about $300 or so on the price of Bitcoin in about a hour's move, and that happened a few times over the past 24 hours,
Mm-hmm.
while it continues to kind of fall here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's sideways, kind of holding on. The volume is, it's interesting. We saw something very similar a couple days ago when I thought that was kind of loading volume, where we were seeing kind of consistent volume with a lot of sideways price action. And at that time, I was looking at that as very bullish kind of price accumulation. I don't really see it the same way this time,
Mm-hmm.
just because about how that was kind of after a nice pop up. And
Mm-hmm.
this is kind of still going down. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
almost seeing a lot of this kind of accelerated volume here as more of I don't know, more like liquidating. Like if we have all this volume here and we have no price action, I'm almost
Mm-hmm.
and it's at the down angle. I almost feel like this is more people kind of selling into a little bit of strength here versus the reverse, which we
Mm-hmm.
saw a few days ago, which were able to bring us higher. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, honestly, there might be a couple more $100 in Bitcoin. We might be able to try and test 7,000 again. I'm not really seeing it. I really don't think that's a distinct probability.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we're getting close to something, though. We've been
Mm-hmm.
watching the charts. We've been kind of doing our own little wedges and kind of angles here. We're kind of seeing that whatever's going to happen,
Mm-hmm.
it's going to happen probably in the very near future.
Well,
Probably tomorrow's price action.
let me interrupt. Is there a pattern you're seeing on, say, the Bitcoin 1 hour? I've seen it on Twitter, and people are talking about one that people have identified. Are you seeing that on the 1 hour?
Yeah, I mean, there's a little price action. We're kind of moving up a little bit. We're still in this channel
Bear
that
pennant,
we.
big Jonas. Are we the bear pennant? Are you seeing that?
Well, I feel we're in a large bear pennant all day for sure.
Yeah.
But you talked about at least the past hour's price
No,
action.
I'm talking about in this current consolidation channel. You should
Yes.
see on the screen right now. And I think
Okay. So we're
you and I,
rising up there. Yeah, the
you and
bottom
I
is rising up there.
You got the upper line trend line. I'm going to say we actually just broke out of this bearish pattern. Well, right now, because if you see on your screen, I've already drawn the close on these trend lines.
Hmm.
So I checked on both the Bitfinex and the Coinbase server, and using my method, which is a candle close method, we do have a somewhat symmetrical triangle forming this bear pennant. And it looks like we just broke that with a close here above the trend line. And you can go ahead and see that on your screen. So that's my thesis, is that we're actually about to bounce to the, I'm going to say like that 7,100 range. Somewhere I'm gonna go right there. Yeah. So I think we should see a little pop here. Certainly we're gonna have to, yep, 7,100 we're gonna have to deal with, but we're gonna bounce a couple $100 here, $150 I think, right here, just based off this wedge break. It doesn't mean the trend is reversing, but this is a good sign rather than breaking this trend line, going down. What do you think?
Hmm. Um, I have a couple of my own little trend lines I've been drawing through the day here. I actually think we're still in it,
Uh-huh.
kind of in this bearish wedge, rising wedge pattern. Um,
Rising wedge.
well, yeah, I mean,
What time
it's
frame? What time frame?
Well, I mean, it's on the hourly, but you can also kind
Yeah,
of
but where's
basically see it.
the rising wedge? I mean, you got to have higher highs on a rising wedge.
I did do a tweet of it earlier. Maybe I'm looking at that more in terms of my
I guess you could do
my
it
the
this
way
way. No,
I
I
kind of
see.
see it.
You could go this way maybe or something where you I don't know how if it's going to see in your screen, good buddy, but you could do something like that, I guess. Where you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing it really not entirely broken out to an upside channel yet, or at least anything that's telling me that it's moving in that direction.
Right.
You know, a lot of that has to do with the volume. A lot of that has to do with kind of how I've been watching the order book play out through the day,
Right.
and a lot of it really has to do with how the depth chart is also kind of set up as well. You know, I've also keeping an eye on Bitcoin shorts and Bitcoin longs,
Let's do it.
and kind of
What are you
seeing.
seeing? What are you seeing? Tell us what you're seeing.
Well, it's you know I tweeted this a little earlier about how the shorts were slowly methodically kind of rising through the day. The longs, you know, haven't sold off dramatically, but it's kind of like we're just in this holding pattern because of what we've been seeing in the price action. I
Hmm.
almost feel like the longer though we're at this area here, the more bearish I actually feel,
Mm.
just because you know we're now when we're in the 6,000, so you
Psychological
know
level, right? We're
exactly.
yeah. It
I
feels
think like
six feels vulnerable. Is that kind of the gist?
I think our show like 2 weeks ago we're talking about how we were in the sevens now, and I was
Yeah.
saying about how much harder it would be to get to the eights when the sevens felt such like, oh, now we're in this zone. Now we're in the sixes, and
Sure.
we've been here for a couple days now, so it just
Well,
feels like
yeah, but
that
this
that
isn't the first bear flag or bear pennant that's ever formed in the chart, and you still have a higher low. So it's like, what do you do, right? This is just how it works, right?
Mhm.
Consolidation, and
Yeah, I
you know,
mean, yeah, I mean, I think it's so early to play out in this situation here just because of the lack of volume here. A
yeah.
lot of these moves have been kind of bear traps. We have seen this punch through a couple times on some wicks, you know, just to give that up. A lot of this kind of feels like a little pump maybe before the end of the day
Hmm.
where you get some buying going in. Maybe in an hour when we close the day candle, you might see a little spike in volume trying to induce people to come into the market. Personally, I would see that as a bear trap. You
Hmm.
know, but as I said earlier, that you know we might be able to test 7,000 again, maybe before where I think we're heading, which is we're heading down some more.
Okay. I think it's better to play it safe, and I think if you are betting, with what the trend has been, you're probably going to be right more than often. I just put an interesting idea up. If we are, let's say, Big Chonis, and guys, this is Big Cheds. Big Chonis, we could be breaking this bear pennant only to form a bear flag.
Mm,
Right? Do you see that on your screen?
I
Uh,
do.
so that's another thing. So it's like what do they say? Out of the pot and into the frying pan, so to speak. So I think that's something to watch for. So if we do continue to move up here off of this pennant break, and we'll move on to Litecoin next. If we do move up off this pennant break, I think we actually would have to watch this trend line up here for a test first, and that would be, at just over 7. So
Hmm.
let's go ahead and Litecoin. It's going to be somewhat similar. What's different though? Is there anything that jumps out that's different on Litecoin, maybe versus Bitcoin?
Well, it's the thing with Litecoin is that it because it's a cheaper like it's easier to buy because it's like easy on Coinbase and GDEX and it's a cheaper price point. So you
Yep.
see a lot more volatility in it on the upside and you see a lot more volatility on the downside.
Hmm.
So, you know, we're basically been hanging out in the teens here. You know, I see this as, you know, another kind of rising wedge, rising wedge price action.
Yep.
Um, you know, are we kind of try and make another attempt somewhere in the mid 120s to get up back over to 125?
Hmm.
You know, it's possible. The volume's really trailed off significantly though since we had our pop a few days ago. You know, just checking out the 4 hour. You know, the 4 hour has been oversold for a while here. So it is
Yeah.
possible that a little push higher could at least allow that to reset and kind of see how that goes from there. The daily is kind of inconclusive. You know, it's rising, but it's starting to kind of turn over a little bit. You noticed something actually. I remember on the
Yeah.
OBV.
You see it? You see it on the 1 hour right now?
Yeah, the 1 hour, and we're seeing, at least we were seeing, we would thought was a lot of divergence there, where the OBV was really falling off almost in a faster pace than the price action would suggest.
Price is, yeah, we have a rising price. If you essentially, if you take the candle close, oh, that would be up here. So if I, even if I draw this back to like here, if you take the candle close and you look, basically the price here is rising. You have the OBV falling, so that's a little bit of a warning sign, especially if you look at what we're doing here is a rising wedge, as Big Chon has pointed out. We have a bearish flag, which is I mean, if you draw it this way, that's the top of your flag. You could also call it a bear pennant because you do have the lower highs here as
Yeah.
well on the candle close. But Big Chonis, if I go to the 4 hour, I mean the OBV is still uptrending with price, and there's almost a bullish divergence. Almost. I mean, there kind of is arguably a tiny bit of bullish. So it's like, I guess I would have to not heavily weight that bearish divergence in the 1 hour because of the trend on the 4 hour for the OBV.
Looks like a sushi roll there on the 4 hour, just like very
Mm,
straight and very interesting there.
yeah.
Last time we had that, didn't it? I thought it broke.
It's
I don't remember which way
accumulation.
it
This is
broke.
kind of an accumulation move here, right? This looks like
It is. It is. It's just the volume. I mean, if it is, I'm not seeing it in the volume. And then just as like a, I mean, we're just in this area here where everything is kind of hinged on what Bitcoin does.
mm,
And you
mm,
know, even if Bitcoin had a couple $100 left in it, you know, I think that could make sense. But
yeah.
it just feels like it's setting up for the inevitable. And the
We're
inevitable.
close though. We're right. I mean, whatever we're gonna do, we're a lot closer than 10 hours ago,
Yeah, yeah, and you know,
right?
normally you don't have 2 days of sideways price action.
Yep.
We've seen this before, where we do have sideways price action like this with a very tight range.
Mm,
But I wouldn't be surprised if you see a lot of volatility. And frankly, volatility, you know, that's going to tell you you're getting close to something. I think we're going to see
mm,
significant volatility
mm,
as we start to test the next bottoming area there.
mm.
And that basically tells you that a lot of traders are trying to figure that out and doing some quick flips because they're just not sure if this is the first bounce of the first bottom to proceed to even a lower price.
Mhm.
But you know, 64, 6,500 has acted as such a support a couple times in the past week or so.
Mhm.
You know, if we test it a third
Well,
time, it's probably going to break.
it's a good point. I'm just looking at the daily chart, Big Jonas. Guys, this is Big Cheds. We are forming an an inside bar here. So this is actually bullish on the daily chart for Litecoin because, so Big Jonas, go back to 329 with me, right?
Hmm.
Then we had that inside bar the following day. And it's a little bit of a three inside up. You didn't have much confirmation, but after more days sideways, you did have that bounce.
Hmm.
So we could, in theory, I wouldn't be surprised if we put in like elongated like a W bottom here
Mm.
with a slightly higher low here. If this is the second half of that, I mean, you could argue maybe cup and handle, but no, I think we have to. I mean, look how small the range is today. I mean, that's notable, right? Given the range yesterday, right?
Um, Something I noticed on the volume really, and the volume is really kind of tell where this thing will head.
Hmm.
Um, as we get closer to a bottom, as I said, that I believe the volume will increase, but that's not necessarily saying there's buyers piling in here. That basically is saying it could be just a lot of the liquidation that happens as you get close to that bottom there. Um, you know, we bottomed last time at 5,800, so there were a lot of people that took initial positions in the low sixes. So that's why we're able to kind of hang on to this area here for a while here. But once we get closer to the lower sixes, the people that, you know, got in at the bottom of that last nice bounce there, you know, they're back to that break even area if that was going to happen. And that's where you get that panic sell, which actually can push the price lower very fast.
Hmm.
And that's actually something that will perk up the ears of a lot of traders who like to see very significant drops in a very short period of time, which basically puts you in an oversold area very quickly, and the
Mm.
setup for a very nice bounce opportunity. So, you know, as I said, if we hit the 6,465 range, we break that again, which I think we will, because it's a third tap. You know, most times the third touch is where you start to break down there.
Hmm.
We're going to basically go right to about 6,000, maybe 6,100 there,
You think
and
so?
there'll be a yeah, oh yeah, and that's going to be, I mean, 6,000. I know we got a little lower on some of the exchanges into the 5,800, 5,900, plus or minus $100 there is where we kind of basically hit. But I think as we get to the low 6,000s, almost start to maybe break it, or at least get close to that. There's going to be that kind of feeling. I don't know. I think there potentially could be a nice trade there, but a quick trade with a little bounce back to 6,400, which has basically acted as that support for so long that initially becomes a resistance line when you break that. So our next bounce, basically, if we were to break 6,400, would probably hit the resistance back coming up to 6,400. So, the farther we get away from 6,400, kind of think like, that's additional, every dollar behind it is another dollar up, because it will get back to that 6,400 at least once to kind of touch it and test it as the resistance point before where I think is going to head down some more. So that's where I think it's headed, and it's going to take the other ones with them, and we'll see which one, if one falls faster than another. If we do get to 6,000 on Bitcoin, that basically puts Litecoin right around 105 area, maybe a few dollars less. That's kind of be the first test of Litecoin, where we're kind of basically test at $100 price point and see how the market reacts to that. The quicker the decline, the better chance for a larger bounce, will present itself. So it will basically see how quickly Bitcoin, if it does fall, decides to fall. If it slowly kind of falls and does this kind of slow pattern, setting up that bounce won't be as strong. But I don't think it will. I think it's actually kind of pretty definitive what happened. That's probably going to happen in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Okay. Do you see in your screen a couple of these support lines that I've drawn?
Yes, I do.
So I think you were right. I just found it interesting that just a few days ago we did drop almost to the exact low. So on April 1st, we hit the exact same low as February 5th. So that's kind of notable. That 64.47 level to watch out for. And I just noticed now a bullish divergence on the on-balance volume on the daily chart for Bitcoin. So that's actually, I'm gonna think it probably bounces here just because I'm seeing that, and then I'm seeing this potential wedge break on the 1 hour. Now we're back testing the trend line here right now, but I think we bounce before we go down if we do go down. So I'll kind of stick with that, but we'll see how it plays out. Let's check out Ether real quick so we can wrap it up. Ether's, doing much of the same. We've talked about Ether a lot, Big Chonis, and this is Big Cheds. And by the way, guys, check out Big Chonis on Twitter, at Big Chonis. And I am at Big Cheds. Check out the blog, chedstrading.blogspot.com, beginner's guide to cryptocurrency trading. So Big Chonis, we've talked about Ether a lot. There isn't really, it's kind of doing the same thing that the others are doing. I do see a bear consolidation pattern as well. What do you see?
Yeah, all three are very similar in the way they've been reacting. The only really one thing that really stands out about Ether is just the depth chart is the most bearish of the three. It basically shows that there's not a lot of buying support in this area here. A lot of money is positioned, sub 350, but really sub 300, in the thought that that's kind of where the markets will take it. We talk a lot about indicators and a lot about indicators that look overbought, oversold. The daily on Ether, it's up there. It's not topped off for sure, but it's a little toppy, but the 4 hour is pretty low here. So, that's why I keep saying that there might be just a little bounce in these, just to kind of allow the chart to reset slightly and allow for a more precipitous decline. The money flow is where I'm looking at here. I actually just took a quick look at the coin market cap just to get a sense of the price volume in the past 24 hours.
Yeah.
It's a little higher than it was yesterday. We're basically over 5 billion again. We dropped to 4. Or under 5 yesterday. Market cap, 115 billion. That is as low as we have been all year.
Wow.
So that's something. It seems, or at least back for a while at least.
Bitcoin Core, you mean?
I don't want to confuse them, right?
Yeah, not with the real Bitcoin, right?
So something to keep an eye on there. It's just I just again we're just in this wait and see pattern here.
Yeah.
If it's going to spike up,
Hmm.
I mean the volume will come in. If it starts to drop, it will be you'll know it won't be a hidden thing there. It's going
Hmm.
to happen if it's going to happen.
Mm.
But I just feel like it's going to happen soon, just because these things don't take more than a day or so of this sideways price action to set up.
Hmm.
And basically, what I think here is they're just trying to see if they can get some buyers in the market.
Mm.
This is a consolidation area here for sure. Um, if it does have another push, we're only talking about hundreds of dollars here. I don't think this is the start of a moon or a new upward trend by any means.
That's great call. That's great analysis, guys. What do we got? What are we doing here? You want to, what do you
Couple
want
things.
to, yep.
It's nice to see the 423 of our closest friends here
Hmm.
in this evening's chat. Lots of action going on in there. I know there's a lot of alts that had a lot of action
Hmm.
today.
At least someone's getting some action around here.
This is true. This is true. I don't know, Chad. Do you want to do like one or two alts? Do you think we have time for that?
Sure.
All right, let's pull up a couple of the ones that really made some news today. You want to pull up TRX? That seemed to have the best percentage gains.
Yeah,
A lot of
TRX.
volume.
So TRX had this big move from 445 and it went to 670. And I see what I see is it made that big move and it formed a bullish flag.
Hmm.
I see that it broke the flag and it's now setting a lower high, so it's kind of consolidating. So we've got a lower high and we have a higher low right now, right? Lower high, higher low. What I'm looking to see is if these two lower wicks here that just happened recently, right at like that 560 level. I'm looking to see if that level holds because if you zoom in a little bit,
Hmm.
it's trying to form a bottom, but it's not convincing yet. What are you seeing?
Well, it's almost a slight bullish falling wedge there on your chart there. That like a
Mm,
smaller one, like just like the one you just drew there, and like a
mm-hmm,
smaller format there.
mm,
And the thing that the volume, it's trailed off a lot, but it's pretty consistent. I was looking at the 4 hour, is basically says like it has some more room to run there,
mm,
and the daily says it definitely has some room to run. There's actually a bullish crossover there on the stock and RSI, and the OBV is actually kind of
mm,
holding up in this accumulation as well.
mm-hmm.
So
Big
it's
volume
not
today. Big volume today.
big volume. Gave a lot of it back though. I mean, gave a lot of that price action back.
Oh, it gave how much of it? About half of it.
Hmm.
Yep, that's right, because it did break though. What's interesting, it did breach the prior high.
Hmm.
It's almost like the daily has had a bullish, what's it called? It's almost like the daily had a bullish flag, Big Jonas, and it broke it.
I have the Bollinger up on the 4 hour here, and you see how far, really far out
Oh, where are my
outside of it
Bollingers?
it
My
was.
Bollinger's missing. Yeah, it was
Did
what?
you?
I don't know what happened.
So it basically uh,
Yeah.
corrected the next 4 hour, and which brought it right back into the upper Bollinger there. So
Hmm.
it's very cool to see that in the charts it's respecting that Bollinger there
Yes,
on the chart.
it is.
And now that upper Bollinger is acting as resistance, which means this is probably needing to correct a little bit more. And
Mm-hmm.
but it's a decent bullish trend. The chart says it may have some more room to run.
Yep.
If it can do a nice consolidation here as well.
Yep.
How about we'll do some ZRX? That was also a hot one today.
Yeah, ZRX. Let's see. This one pumped on like the same pump it had before on speculation of Coinbase listing. And the only notable thing from a chart perspective is it actually had a higher close in the 4 hour,
Hmm.
so you get a higher high. But it might have just been good timing. I mean, it closed at the almost at almost close to the nut top there. Um, I think within the first, yeah, so it went from like 10,000 to almost 11,000 in about 10 minutes. So it was a quick mover. So if we just started at the daily chart, Big Jonas,
Hmm.
ZRX trying to cross. I mean, we're getting that crossing buy signal with some volume. We see that big accumulation spike in the unbound volume, but we do have the upper shadow, which tells you, I mean, it tells the story
Right.
that there was a bullish move and a pullback. What really matters is kind of what happens over the next 6 hours. as this tries to form a higher low. What do you say?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing, like as you said, like look what happened last week. It almost did the exact same thing on kind of similar news. A huge pump, huge wick, followed by several days of more consolidation. The only thing I really say that left is that it is on a slight upward trend, even with these nasty
Yeah.
wick days here. It still is putting in higher lows.
Hmm.
And definitely has a lot of attention on it. The daily is pretty topped off there, but it almost appears like it could do one more extended amount of time up there if it wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
The 4 hours suggests it could make a move there, but yeah, it is as long as it keeps putting in a higher low here.
Hmm.
The trend of the chart, is still intact.
I'd be curious. I mean, it's like, what do you think would have happened if they didn't have that rumor? It's interesting.
Right.
Is you were still having higher lows, and you were actually you actually broke your lower high pattern.
Hmm.
So this was a very healthy chart. You see what I mean? Back on the 4 hour on the 1 hour big Jonas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Back on April 1st, we had that high, and we broke it again on April 3rd. So like this was like a normally healthy, slow, steady rising chart and low volume. So
Hmm.
it'll be interesting to see if it can continue that, level off, and can continue that. So
All right. How about some ICX? ICX.
okay, last one.
We'll do one more after this, then we'll wrap it up.
All right, you go first. Daily chart.
Okay. Daily chart. So a lot of consolidation after that nice little run it had about a week ago.
Mm-hmm.
It's still holding up a higher low, which is good. So basically, it is showing that it could have a trend reversal. The
Mm-hmm.
daily is also suggesting this could be bottoming out here, which I like to see.
Mm-hmm.
4 hour also suggests, yeah, this is actually really good here. The 4 hour and the daily are both lining up
Hmm.
bullishly. So that's interesting here. A little uptick on the OBV. Um, so yeah, as long as we kind of hold this like right here, as long as we don't drop it below like 28,870 area,
Mm-hmm.
this chart is intact and might be putting another run. The volume is pretty consistent as well. I like it.
Yeah, I mean the daily chart at first glance looks okay because obviously you have your downtrend break which occurred on this candle on 321 Big Jonas.
Hmm.
You see where we had our downtrend break. So that was your initial signal. So now what you were looking for is a higher low, and obviously we went too high too fast. We had 5 days in a row of buy pressure, some nice volume, and we kind of slowly gave that back. Uh, Ideally, you'd want Big Jonas. One thing that jumps out is you'd want to see this sell volume actually tapering off a little more.
Mm.
Wouldn't you know what I mean? Classically, you'd want to see it almost like a downward diagonal, right? So what happens is eventually the sellers run out and everyone agrees like this is the price, it shouldn't go lower, and then you kind of get like get that pivot, whether it be a Bollinger pinch or whatever the case may be. So it's the only thing is that I'd like to have seen this sell pressure taper off a little more. We do have the stochastic crossing
Yeah.
on the bottom, so that's pretty good in the daily. 4 hour looks very pretty good short term because you are lower Bollinger area. We did have this nice long-legged doji, and followed up by almost like an inverted hammer, but just another doji, and we're following up with some buy pressure. So this could be a little bottom area, but I'm not seeing the convincing volume on the buy sell side, and the unbalanced volume isn't even really ticking up in the 4 hour. So that would tell me that maybe be a little careful here.
Yeah, the volume really hasn't suggested yet that this is kind of move,
Mhm.
but the chart could be setting up for that move.
I mean, this is the area. I mean, if it holds this
Yeah,
area, we'll get like a kind of a double bottom almost.
exactly. I agree with that.
All right, last
All
one.
right, last one, EOS. A lot of action apparently happening in this one,
Really?
so let's take a
Oh,
look.
I have some old trend lines drawn. I'm just gonna remove them. Just get a fresh look. Wow. Yeah, we're in a nice spot. We're in space here because we've recently cleared. Wow, that's pretty nice. We cleared recent resistance. So, Big Chonas, you see what I mean? We're kind of in space here. I don't see serious resistance really until. I wonder if we've done this before, but yeah, right around what is that, 100,000?
Hmm.
And there's a little level right there at about 98.5. But and there's a little test at 96.2. But we've definitely got some room to run at 93. It looks like 93 to 96 is pretty clear. What are you seeing out there? Yeah, we have a pocket.
Yeah,
There's a pocket, 93 to 96.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with this one. This one is really having a nice move here. I just want to start with the daily just to see kind of what we're looking at. Like tremendous volume here, a lot of buying pressure, a lot
Yeah.
of money flow coming in here. Really pushing this thing up here. It's topping. It's starting to spread out the upper Bollinger on the daily,
Mm.
and now the what is this one here? That is
The Hemingway.
the Hemingway. The 21 day is now acting as support on the daily, which is interesting as well.
Hmm.
So yeah, this has really had a super nice move.
Mm-hmm.
Like the accumulation, the daily, it actually it still shows it could have some room to run,
Is this
even
a
the 4
rising
hour
wedge? It's a rising wedge, right?
on the daily.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is bullish though. This is impulse
Well,
wave
it
here.
could.
This
I
is
mean, it
not.
doesn't mean you're not bullish just because you're a rising
Yeah.
wedge.
Well, right. But you're right. There's a few kinds of rising wedge. I think this is a bullish impulse wave rising wedge, and almost feel like it's just the same. Like this could be just the beginning of a wave one here. I don't know, but yeah, there's a lot of this is great. And what's interesting too is that you see it's bucking the trend in this entire move here. It's rising pretty well here, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
money flow, while Bitcoin is not doing as well. So it's
Mm-hmm.
one of those coins that's diverging in price action from Bitcoin. It's
Mm-hmm.
very interesting because in a sense it can kind of do its own thing
Mm-hmm.
based on price charting and fundamentals,
Mm-hmm.
and especially in these times here where Bitcoin keeps falling, to be susceptible to be kind of immune a little bit to that is very important in a coin.
If you go back to and great analysis, guys. This is Big Cheds. That was Big Chonis. If you go back to 319 on the daily chart, I mean that's when the volume started picking up. When you had that downtrend break, that nice green
Yeah.
the Maribozu candle, and that is some nice steady volume we've had kind of since in this upward channel. I'm not exactly sure how to draw the lower trend line if I believe this is a rising wedge because it looks like it violated it and then it regained it just now. So
Hmm.
in any case, hard to argue. On the other hand, it clearly has the pocket from 93 to 96. There's no horizontal resistance really. It's kind of cleared this recent. It's got this little pocket here to go 93 to 96, like So I think wouldn't be surprised if we go 93 to 96 and then we put in an upper wick, kind of cool off in this area. So I think that's about that. What do you say, buddy? You want to wrap it up?
Yeah, listen, this was a awesome show. I loved doing these with you. We constantly debate the price action we see, and I think the more we're able to talk about it, to talk out our thoughts, the better we kind of understand. I think what we're looking at as a trader, you always want to get lots of information. There's lots of great resources out there. TradingView is really a great tool to basically have live price action, to play around with a lot of the indicators that it offers, and to basically have a sense of what's happening. And also they give a really awesome thing about ideas. A lot of people are able to put their own charts up about what they think is happening. Personally, I like to look at these a lot. Some of them are great, some of them are pretty interesting, I'll say. But it's great to get a different perspective, a different analysis from other people to either, reinforce what you think is happening or to question what you think is happening. And it begins to question a lot about what you think is what you feel will happen. And in doing so and seeing how that plays out, I think it makes you a much smarter trader. So it's great to be here with you again, Cheds, and let's do this again soon.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, we don't want to obviously go ahead and make an update every 10 minutes because that'd be kind of lame. But we do want to keep you guys plugged in every now and again, just so you get a couple different opinions about what's going on. We're just two guys talking crypto. We are not advisors. We just like to have fun. Find me on Twitter at Big Cheds. Find him on Twitter at Big Chonis. Check out the blog, chedstradingblogspot.com. Please subscribe to the videos. And we hope you guys have a great day and a great weekend coming up. Talk to you soon. Bye.